we all have an expiration date. There's a date on this earth that we all are going to move on. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to live this way every day that God gives me. If that's a day, if that's a week, if that's several years, I'm going to keep living that way.
And welcome everyone to another episode of Humanity 2.0 podcast, where we are talking to humans about humanity. Imagine that. Today's guest is Russ Hedge, who is an international speaker and also a #1 international bestselling author. Oh man, Russ, meeting you, it has been one of the highlights of my year. And just to give everyone a little bit of context, I'll just briefly touch on the fact that we met at PodFest. I messaged in the community, hey, who's coming from the airport? Because, you know, your girl is kind of broke at the time. Scott answered, you were in the van, Mike was in the van, and it was a whole thing. And I had no idea that ride would lead to wonderful friends and amazing conversations. So welcome to Humanity 2.0. I'm so glad to have you and know you.
Well, Vanessa, what a blessing. Yes, that was an amazing trip. And I always look forward to great opportunities like that, but it was a special blessing to meet you. And thank you for having me on today.
Yes. Super, super amazing trip. Yes, I agree. And also, you know, thank you for the kind messages. You've been very instrumental in providing these little rays of sunshine. So I'm so happy for that and very thankful.
Yeah. Well, I am blessed by God to be able to do that and be an encourager to people. So thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the question of the hour is, are you a good human and why?
The answer is yes. Why I'm a good human is because I have God in my life and He makes all things good. So there you go. That's a simple answer.
I love it. I really enjoy that you were direct and you were like, yes, like 100%. Because when I ask people, sometimes the response is a little bit shaky or people question themselves as though they've not known themselves their whole life. And it's interesting to watch someone kind of do an inventory and say, well, am I? Well, kind of. And then I'll hear, oh, it's subjective on blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's really just a straightforward question. You know, do you feel you are? And what's the supportive evidence? But yeah, in God, you are most definitely a wonderful human, and you are blessed to be able to speak and to give, you know, wisdom to others and to relay inspiration through your personal stories. So I would concur, you are an amazing human.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank God every day for that. Truly do, because without Him, I would have all kinds of troubles. I'm a mess.
Oh yeah, we are all messes, beautiful messes, blessed messes. I remember back in the day, I worked at a Christian rock venue when I was about 13, 14, and there was this punk band called Bless This Mess. And it was just awesome. But this venue was a way for kids to come out off the street and listen to music. And then they would, you know, have people that would witness to them if they wanted to, you know, hear more. But you had these really amazing musicians that would play, and they were all Christian bands, but they were like hardcore Christian bands. I'm talking like really hard. And it was just amazing for people to receive God and to hear amazing music and commune with one another. And you had believers and non-believers. So that was cool to have both, you know, just be together and listen to music. And so funny enough, that particular rock venue, it closed when the head of the venue passed away, the head of the mission, because it was mission work. Now his daughter is bringing it back. She felt, you know, that God had spoken to her and given her this task to bring back this venue to help kids, you know, to help kids these days to find their way back to God or to receive God. And it's just amazing. I myself was walking, this is a number of weeks ago, probably maybe a month or two. And at that point, this is before cancer. And I had been praying on this walk. That's what I do on this walk. And I had said, you know what? I am officially just putting everything down and giving it to you. And you tell me what to do. You drive, because we try to drive, you know, all the time. And so for that one time where you just finally give up everything and surrender everything. And I did. And I had this thought about that venue. And I was like, oh, I remember having such an amazing time there and witnessing so many wonderful things. And then sure enough, that girl who's like a sister to me, she reached out and said, hey, I'm bringing back this venue and I would really like your help in, you know, creative consult and also helping me build that back. And I was like, yeah, yeah, I actually just had the same kind of thought. And so that's what we were put to work into together. And so we've had a few meetings, and there are a lot of people that are supporting it, and it's in a different city. So I get to drive 5 hours, but it's worth it. And it'll be amazing to see that revived.
That is so amazing. Yeah. No, things like that, people are a blessing that give opportunities for people to hear some good music, to be in a positive environment. And, that's so important for all of us. What environment we put ourselves in and who we're around makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. I remember seeing, kids that I went to school with that had troubled lives. And for that couple hours, they were in a safe place, hearing really great music and understanding that there was a community that cared about them and wanted to see, the best for them. So growing up in an area where it was pretty impoverished, and there were a lot of single families, there were a lot of people, a lot of kids with problems. And so for them to be able to take time out and just be in peace and be with other people like them, it was a really big game changer for them.
Yeah, that is so great. I am just thankful every day for amazing ministries like that, and having a family who is really involved in ministry. My beautiful wife was in a music ministry for years and toured and sang. My daughter is an amazing worship pastor now, and my son is in a Christian band and is a professional musician. So they're all really involved in those arenas. And so I just really, really am blessed by people that do that. And I love it. I see that every day through my family.
Culture and religion tell stories about what it means to be human. Do you have a story, quote, or scripture that captures humanity for you? If you can tell us what it is and why.
Yeah. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And let me tell you why that is so important, because through what I've just gone through and what I'm still going through, even though this cancer journey that I've been going through for the last 3.5+ years, um, it's reached a point where the latest scans, praise God, are no sign of disease, meaning I'm cancer free. But as we all know, cancer is a lifelong journey because all of the treatment and the things you go through change your body and change everything for a lifetime, unless God, of course, chooses to heal you of that, which I'm still hoping for. but uh, but yeah, so through that whole thing, God's strength is what I needed, knowing that I could do it, I could make it. And that's what my book is all about. Life happens, and then you choose every single day, and you choose those positive mindsets, those positive perspectives through your life. And that's what gets you through those times. God giving you that strength to do that. And so, yeah, that has definitely been huge for me.
Yeah. And we'll get more into that book here in a little bit, but I agree that is an excellent verse, and I love that you shared that with us. Thank you so much. I remember when I met you and learning a little bit about your cancer and the side effects and how you had to kind of navigate life a little differently. And I remember thinking, man, like I can't even imagine. I had such empathy for you, or I guess not empathy because I didn't know the experience yet, but I just had so much compassion for you. And I wanted to, make you smile as much as possible, because who doesn't love smiling? But then, receiving my own diagnosis in February, that was crazy, because not that long before I'd been thinking, oh man, Russ has cancer. And then being like, oh, hey, I have cancer now. Like, what? That was crazy. And so, of course, you go through several, shock and different feelings. And it was crazy to understand that. And then trying to live life as though nothing changed, that didn't do well. And trying to work, crazy schedule and not take into the account that things have changed now and you need to act accordingly and take things a little bit more seriously. And so I look at you with admiration, and I look to you for inspiration too, because I don't know how to navigate this. Yeah, I just thought you should know that I definitely admire you in that respect. And your life experience helps me to kind of put mine into perspective.
Well, I had to go through that too, because I was a big supporter of some cancer organizations before I was going through cancer. And I was actually on cancer shows talking about my dad going through lung cancer and what that was like. And then suddenly I'm diagnosed with cancer. And so it was a weird process going from, my whole thought. I write about this in a couple of my books, going from saying, hey, I'm the supporter, I'm lifting everybody else up. Wait a second, I can't have cancer. I'm too busy helping them out. And so it is a big change. It is a tough mindset shift. There you go. Because you've got to suddenly think, okay, my mortality is right in front of me. I could not make it. I mean, this could happen. So where am I in life? What is my perspective on things one way or the other? And God really helped me come to a good place where I was really not worried about dying. I was not planning to die. In fact, I quote the scripture, Psalm 118:17, that says, I shall not die, but live and proclaim the works of the Lord. And so I said, God's not done with me yet. I'm still going to keep moving, whatever that means. We all have an expiration date. There's a date on this earth that we all are going to move on. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to live this way every day that God gives me. If that's a day, if that's a week, if that's several years, I'm going to keep living that way. And I think that really helped me because that put me in a good place. I didn't have that fear and that worry. Not that we don't ever fear or worry. I mean, of course, that's why God always tells us not to worry and not to fear, because we do. But in general, I was able to overcome that with God's help and keep a good perspective and live by this. And it's really been a blessing for me, since then.
I remember being on a walk again. I walk this lake as often as possible, but one point receiving a message, and that message was, I'm with you. I'm always with you. I've always been with you. And I saw images of me as a child and growing up and saying, thanks, God. I appreciate that. I mean, I know, but thank you. I appreciate you reminding me. And that was like right before I found out that I had the cancer. And so just thinking back on that experience and knowing that God has been with us from the very beginning, that most definitely carries me through, because there's no person on earth that could ever, be that significant to me before God. And so just having that reminder and being reminded every day, that we're here. I had the same kind of thought process about, we're not done yet. There's more to do, but then also having the thought that, if this is the time, if we're called home soon, then looking back on the life that I've lived and how I've been a servant to others my entire life, thank God I have been, but that makes me very happy to know. And it makes me happy to understand that I've utilized all of my talents. And before I ever knew God, truly, I've always been that person to help others and to serve and to observe and just be, part of humanity, but also give of myself 100%. So I'm very thankful for that gift. Even in this experience now, I still do the same thing. None of that's changed. And I guess understanding that we are where we are and when we go is when we go, I feel like I will be perfectly fine with that. It's not even a month, but so much has happened, so many appointments, and it's a lot.
Well, you've got a lot of learning to do, as do we all, because through the process, it accelerates your learning and your growing through adversity. And so through all of this, it's just really a matter of leaning on God, trusting and believing and doing what you feel is right. And I think that really most of us get those, I call them God feelings right off the bat. You pretty much know what you should do. And we a lot of times fight against that. We fight against what we should do. And so we need to hold true to that. We need to think, if this is like I said, instead of gut feelings, I call them God feelings. I pretty much know right off the bat, I feel it. I know if I feel weird about it, or if it seems like it's a thing to do. And I really go with that because I believe that is really God directing me, and that we'll really know if we're getting off track. Not only will there be roadblocks and things in our way, but also we'll just feel really strange about it. And if we've got a really good feeling, if things are moving along and feel like this is how things should move, usually that's the direction that we need to go.
Yeah, I really like that God feelings. Also reminds me of like intuition, but God intuition. So I like that very much. I'm stealing it. No, I'm kidding. We all have moments when another person or another soul reminds us of our shared humanness. Can you tell me about a person who surprised you with their level of humanity, whether it be empathy or compassion, and then how it changed your view on humanity?
Wow, that's a really good question. So I've had so many people make an amazing impact on my life. I think one person that comes to mind is Tim Sohn, who is the head of Perspectives on Cancer, an organization that I was involved with from the early stages, and now I'm actually a board member of the organization. But I met Tim. I was a guest on his podcast, actually, and so that was the first time I met him, and we got to know each other. He is he went through a cancer journey, or still is. He's going through a cancer journey, and being able to be around him and then be part of, I've gone to New York and spoken the last few years at the Perspectives on Cancer live conference they have every year. And that's been a blessing, but getting to know him and know his struggles and all the things that are going through that and what I'm going through has really, really made a huge impact on me. And one other quick story, and this is actually in my book too, but um, going through my cancer journey and having people diagnosed with cancer in the middle of my journey and then actually have already gone to be with the Lord during that time. So it was very quick. That could be really hard to deal with, but I have felt really blessed to have the opportunity there's been a few of those and some really good friends. One in particular, her name is Becky, and she was a breast cancer survivor of years, and it's like 20 plus years, doing great. And she was like, last Father's Day, she was saying to me, Russ, I'm supporting you. I'm behind you 100%. Everybody loves you and is praying for you. And I was so thankful. Sent me this card, only to find out a couple of weeks later she was not feeling good. She went into the doctor. They found out the cancer had come back in her lungs and her bones. And in less than 2 months from then, she was gone. But the beautiful thing was, she called me when she was in the hospital. Time was short. I went in, I prayed with her. I told her to hang on and believe. I mean, God can do miraculous healings, but wanted to make sure she was comfortable with where she was with God and with life. And so been able to pray with her, hug her husband and her daughter, and to be with them really meant a lot to me, to be able to go through that. And I actually communicated with her the next couple of days before she was gone. But those kind of things make a real impact on my life.
100%. I feel like we all have God on speed dial. And Russ, you're on speed dial now. Heaven forbid I ever have to use it, but if I do, you're on speed dial.
Well, thank you. I'm always here for you.
Yeah. Tell us your why behind the work that you do, and then tell us what you do.
Oh, yeah, totally. My why is to inspire and encourage you and everybody to live a purpose-driven life of significance. And what I mean by that is I want you to be a world changer. I want you to be a difference maker. I want you to make an impact on the lives around you. And how do you do that, or how do I help you do that? I'm here to encourage and inspire you. And how you do that is grabbing a hold of your purpose, trusting God, and moving forward. And anything I can do to help with that, I'm all about. So I've been in sales and marketing for 35 plus years, and that is a people business. And I love people, right? And so I have been all about that my whole life, going into my own business that I run now. And Russ Hedge Coaching and Consulting started. I was going to do some marketing coaching, was really what, and then I thought maybe a little speaking, but it grew because of my good friend D. Scott Smith, friend of yours as well. His encouragement, I started podcasting and live streaming. I started writing books. I started really speaking inspirationally to others, to groups of different sizes. And what I found was God allowed me the platform to inspire and encourage people and help them on their path of life. And I think that scripture in Psalm 118:17 is good for everybody, because some people just roll over and die, not even being sick. They just roll over and die and don't move on with life. And they're very depressed. And I know there's medical things that happen. I'm not discounting any of that. I'm just saying that we all have a choice, no matter what is happening in our life. We have a choice not to do that, to live, not just proclaim what the Lord has done around the world magically, but in our own lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
In our own lives, how he's blessed us. And that encourages and inspires others to do better, to be lifted up, to have a more positive perception of themselves and what they do. So that's what I'm here for. I'm here to inspire, encourage people. I love to connect and build community. I'm all about that. And I do that through the live streaming, the podcasting, the writing. I speak to groups, and I do marketing coaching still. That's not my premium prime thing, but I do some of that as well. And so that's what I'm all about.
Yes. And you mentioned that wonderful book. Plug away.
So yeah, life happens and then you choose. We have hand signals to all the books. So life happens and then you choose. My friend D. Scott Smith comes up with half of them. Yeah, that is a book all about perspective and living life and overcoming challenges in life, or keeping a good perspective even through the good times, right? Because it's important how we look at life. I love the Divine Equation by Chip Ingram in one of his books. And it is C plus P equals E. Your circumstances plus your perspective equals your experience. And what that means is when you live a life where your circumstances are determined by your perspective, or actually how you look at them is determined by your perspective, and not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Not your circumstances determining your life, then your experience is so much better, because that experience is how we perceive life. That's how you get, Vanessa, two people in a room that watch the exact same thing and come out with two different stories, because they have a totally different perspective on what happened. And the way that we think and live determines that. One's going to come out and say, oh, it was great. The person did this and this, and I was really inspired by all this. And the other person's going to go, and it was horrible. Did you see this happen to them? And all those kind of things. So you can have that out of the same factual experience, but their perspective has driven a totally different experience. So that is so important in life. And that's really what my book is all about.
I'm excited to read it. So I would like a signed copy. I need to get that from you for sure.
Absolutely. Well, grab a copy, and next time we're together, I'll sign it.
There you go. So my most favorite question in the entire world, this is a different version of it, but it's also my favorite. And keep in mind, I mean, you've shared a lot of wisdoms today, and you've almost touched on this question already, but I challenge you to dig a little deeper and see what comes out. If you could share a message with humanity, any message at all, what would that message be?
Well, I think honestly, it would be live life with a good perspective. The reason is I think that's at the root of everything that they feel, see, and hear in their life. And that perspective can be driven by God, or it can be driven by other things. It also can be driven by the people you hang out with. Because you know what Jim Rohn says, we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So whoever we spend a bunch of time with is going to change the way we live life and the way we look at life, because of what they do and the way they look at life. So I think that is really, really important. But digging even a little deeper into that, here we go, Vanessa, you ready? So I have been challenged in my life because of things that have happened to me, that to dig deeper and keep that good perspective. And when the rubber meets the road is when really you determine if that's truly what you're all about. And I had to come to the realization I was not truly living exactly like I was speaking. Not that I didn't believe it, not that that wasn't true, but it was not. I was kind of going along with the flow, and then these big things happen. First thing was, and this is all in my book, but the first thing was that near life ending car accident at 19. That was my first experience of really looking at life. I almost died, and by the grace of God, I did not. But I persevered, and at the time, I didn't realize God was behind it all. But I was really grasping and living life and moving forward was not going to be held down. The accident happened July 19th. They had to cut me out of the car with the jaws of life, fly me via lifeline helicopter to the hospital. An entire trauma team worked on my body to save my life. That was July 9th. In September, 2 months later, I was back at Oregon State going to college, which is a gigantic miracle. I mean, here I had head trauma. I lost 2.5 weeks of my life. I don't even remember, which is really by the grace of God, because that was the painful time.
Right.
Then going through the experiences with my parents, losing them to cancer, dementia, and Alzheimer's, and having to deal with that, and really believe. And then finally, my own cancer journey. How did I really perceive life? Was I really living and believing all that I said? And I've really come to that point here in the last few years. Absolutely. Now I'm living and believing. Doesn't mean life's easy all the time. Doesn't mean I've got it all together. But I tell you, that's what I hold on to. And that's what gets me through and gives me strength.
Well, you give everyone strength and inspiration. So thank you for all that you do as a speaker, as an author, as a human being. You're just phenomenal. You're one of my favorite human beings and like an uncle.
Well, thank you. Uncle Russ is always here.
There you go. There you go. Tell everyone where they can find you online, socials, all that good stuff.
All right. Simple, everybody. RussHedge.com. Everything is there. So RussHedge.com. I love LinkedIn as far as communicating as well. My email is on my website as well, russ@russhedge.com. But RussHedge.com has everything. It has all the information about my books, has information about my cancer journey. There's a free download PDF. With that, you get blessed by little encouraging emails. No, they're not sales emails. They're just encouraging emails 5 days a week. And then also I have a LinkedIn newsletter that is really uplifting and encouraging. I recommend you, what is it?
Subscribing.
There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. You subscribe to it. But, and then I love the live streaming and things that I do. You can find that on all the social medias as well. But RussHedge.com is the place to go. And please, that'll bounce you immediately, give you a pop-up that can bounce you to Amazon. Get a copy of my book. All 6 books are there, but get a copy of my latest book. It'll inspire you. Trust me, it is God written. So thank you.
Yay. So simple, one-stop shop. And for those of you who are not marketers, that is the golden rule, is put it all in one place. So that way people don't have to go to 17 different websites.
Exactly. That's for sure.
Thank you so much for being here. You are just amazing. And I love that you were able to take the time to visit with humanity and talk about humanity. Real quick, what is your forecast for the future of humanity?
Oh, my forecast is there's great things ahead. You know, God has already won the battle. So you know what? There's great things ahead. You just need to be able to survive through the ups and downs of life. Keeping a good perspective is going to make a huge difference in that. So hang on to that.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. For those of you watching or listening, be sure to visit RussHedge.com and subscribe to everything, all the buttons, all the clicking, all the inspirational things that are there for you. And also, if you're on Instagram, subscribe to Russ, because you get these lovely little pop-ups in your feed of these daily messages, and they're just awesome to see. I hope that you guys have become inspired by Russ today, and I'm sure that you have, with his amazing story and his wisdoms that he shared. I truly agree in taking time for yourself and understanding that there is more for you and that you do have purpose. And whatever that means for you, it's ahead, and just keep an eye out for it and pray about it if you are one that prays. And if you don't, then, there are people that are praying for you. We're praying for you all the time. Be good to other humans above all else. That's one of the cornerstones of this show and Humanity 2.0. We'll see you next week, either by watching or listening, for another wonderful episode with another amazing human. Take care and be well. Humanity 2.0 podcast is brought to you by Vanessa the Vivacious Productions. Want to be a guest? Visit the link in the episode description for future guest opportunities. Ready to podcast like a boss? Join Podmatch and begin your Podmatch journey via the link also listed in the description. Subscribe to Humanity 2.0 podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Follow and help support the show by buying Humanity a cup of coffee via buymeacupofcoffee.com/Humanity 2.0 podcast. Above all, don't forget to be good to other humans. See you guys next time.